Hi, I'm Laurie, the founder of Reins Equestrian, and this is Suzanne, who's kindly come to talk to me today about an accident that you had a few years ago. Suzanne did a lot of eventing and unfortunately had a bad accident, didn't you, with the rain?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate thing. We were just out having a nice Sunday hack with a friend whose horse got spooked and it bolted, and mine decided to bolt with it, as they do.
Yeah.
And she actually took over the horse. I couldn't control her, I couldn't stop her, I couldn't turn her, but I did see a 5-bar gate ahead, and I thought, great, that will slow her down, we'll be okay. But unfortunately there was a side gate that was open, and she decided to carry on a bolt through the side gate. I ended up dislocating my knee as she smashed my knee into the side of the gate, propelled out of the saddle, all this on an easy Sunday hack. Oh, propelled out of the saddle, fell to the right, and my left arm was caught in the reins. So by this point I'm now on the other side of the horse, pulling at her mouth, not knowing the damage I was doing there, while I'm being bashed on the floor and the ground. It was absolutely terrifying because I didn't know how it would end, or even if it was going to end. We actually came to a stop. It was only then that I realised there was blood everywhere. Not from me, but from her, because I'd been held onto the reins, stuck in them.
So she's cut her mouth?
Yeah, she's cut her mouth. I've also now broken 2 of my ribs, along with my knee. So for me, it was a really horrific situation. It damaged my confidence and damaged hers as well. And I think had we had the reins available then to get us out of that situation rather than us both suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would have been, it would have, and I remember thinking at the time, God, is there nothing available that would stop that happening? But you know, it's taken us to get this many years down the line. I think it's a benefit to all riders in a situation like that, and the horses as well.
So how long had you had her?
Well, I'd had her then about 12 years, and we were really at the top of our competing level. We were just going up to the next level, and I was figuring that we had a few more years left of doing some really good stuff together, but unfortunately it massively knocked my confidence.
Did it?
Yeah, it did.
What about hers?
She was never quite the same, and certainly when tacking up alone, because her mouth was very sore. I was also worried then that there'd be soft tissue damage, that perhaps she'd never be as comfortable being ridden. So it had a knock-on effect. It wasn't just that immediate event.
No, so just overall. And how long do you think it took to get over that for both of you?
I don't think mentally I ever really got my confidence back from there. I think for some people it's fine, they can have situations like that happen and get back on, and it doesn't affect them. But for me, it was a kind of acknowledgement of what an innocent, just Sunday hack can turn into.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how would that look when you're competing? It just affects you mentally.
Yeah. No, it's scary, and I think a lot of people don't realise what something that can happen, you know, in seconds.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're out enjoying a nice hack, and then before you know it, you're in that horrific accident.
So what made you sort of think about developing the reins, Laurie? What was the...
So it started it was 4 years ago, and there was a little girl riding one of our ponies, and unfortunately she got bucked off the pony and ended up with the reins wrapped around her neck.
Oh, God.
So luckily we were close to the pony. Her mum was there, so her mum grabbed hold of her, I grabbed the pony, we untangled the reins, and she had a rope burn around her neck. And as you can imagine, I cried all day. I was horrified, because I thought, gosh, as horses do, they're flight animals. If the pony had taken off and dragged her, it just wasn't fair thinking about, really. So that's where it actually came from. And then as we progressed with it, well, I went out then and decided that that's what we needed to be done and needed to be on a set of reins. You started to notice other things then, like the horses being entangled in them, and then my daughter got entangled in them. She got a leg trap. She came off the pony and got a leg trapped in them, and again the pony just stood there, but you know, she could have been dragged.
Well, interesting, that's no different to your foot being trapped in a stirrup. It's the same thing. Understanding the point at which these things can release and still be safe to ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And the feedback that we get, people say, wow, it's quite a simple idea, why hasn't it been done before? And you think, it was really, but it wasn't in regards to the science behind it. That's what was the difficult thing.
And that's what gives its ultimate credibility, is the level at which you took the testing to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did you get to that point of understanding what the breaking point was?
So that's where AMRC came into it. We started with Manchester University, who did the first prototype, which then went on to Sheffield University, who then have AMRC that do all innovations and research into new products. So they actually did all the testing for us. They designed a loading cell that was attached to the reins, which then we could then give to riders to go out and ride in it. We used some event riders that did some, vertical jumps, so they're just clinging onto the rein.
Wow.
We used simulators. We even used bucking broncos.
Oh my God.
We put about 30 rugby players onto a bucking bronco. And got them to obviously hold on to the rein and see what the forces were. So as you can imagine, this took a considerable amount of time. And then it was down to the scientists at AMRC then to work out what the force would be needed for each rider, for each set of rein. So our pony rein actually breaks at 150 newtons. And that's, the child would be, for that one, would be 12 to 30 kilograms. And then we've got the second connector, which is 30 to 50 kilogram rider. And then connector 3 is 50 to 80 kilograms, which will hit a force of just over 400 newtons. English leather actually breaks at between 1,000 and 1,500. So you can, there's a massive difference there, isn't there? If you've got a young rider, 150 newtons to 1,500, they're just not going to break it if they became entangled in it.
Well researched then, and a product for each sort of age and weight range.
And your weight.
Yeah.
And then you can actually mix the products up. So if you've got a cob rein, you can have connector 3 in it, or vice versa. So you can mix the weights around. But yeah, again, if my daughter, who weighs just under 50 kilograms, hers will break at 300 newtons. Again, it's miles off 1,500. So God forbid anything happens to her, she's not going to break that rein.
No,
is she?
No. And you said it's had endorsements from scientific journalists as well.
Yeah, Dr. David Marlin has been fantastic. Absolutely loved the product. He's tested it and said it actually does what it says.
So what are your hopes and aims then in terms of getting the brand acknowledged and out there?
So we're in the process of getting it into retailers. We've got a few retailers on board at the moment. I think it's getting people to understand it, isn't it? Getting people to understand the product and knowing that, some of these professional riders have said, well, what if I'm riding youngsters and I'm breaking in youngsters and stuff, it can't come apart. Well, this is what the testing was about. It won't come apart in normal riding. Some other ones said, well, I I don't. What if it whacks on the side of the horse's neck? You know, when you feel the product and you feel the set of reins, you realise that you can't tell the difference whether it's got the normal buckle on there or ours. It's so light. So again, we had professional riders say that was one of my concerns, but it doesn't have him.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the horse. Oh, well, thank you so much for this today. It's been lovely to see you, and I really appreciate you coming and having a chat with us about it and, you know, discussing what has happened to you.
No problem. Thanks for asking me, Laurie.